So this is just a very quick video on how the elements in the periodic table are arranged. So you should have had a look last lesson at the periodic table, what it looks like, what it's got in it. Today we're going to have a look at how they are arranged, what order are they in, what do the numbers mean that are there as well, and how we can go about and find different elements in the periodic table. Okay, so this is our periodic table. We're going to talk about the groups first, okay, but just before I do that, I'm just going to kind of do a very, very quick, what does all of this mean? So this is our kind of list of elements, okay, it's just arranged differently, okay, so it's not just like a normal list. They are put in what we call groups and periods, which we'll talk about in a minute. All the different letters, they represent the elements. They're just kind of the shorthand or the symbol version. So for example, H for hydrogen, He for helium. There are a couple that don't kind of reflect, the symbol doesn't really reflect the word. So for example, if you look at number 19, K, that is the symbol for potassium. Okay, so some of them don't really match, but most of them do. So as you can see, they go, if you read it right to left, they go up in ones. So number 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, etc. That is how heavy they are. Okay, so the ones right at the top are really, really light. The ones right at the bottom are quite heavy. So if we have a look at these groups then, they're all put into different groups and into different periods. So the groups go down the periodic table. Okay, so from top to bottom. So this is what we call group 1. Okay, so hydrogen, lithium, sodium, potassium, rubidium, cesium, francium, they're all group 1. Okay, so if I say, oh, it's a group 1 element, you know what group of elements I'm talking about. Okay. Next we've got group 2. Okay, so if it's a group 2 element, you can go and look down that column and you know, okay, it's one of those elements that Miss Cook's on about. This is where it gets a bit weird. Okay, it skips all these ones in the middle and goes over to group 3. Okay, so it skipped all those middle ones out and went over. So watch where it came from. Group 2 over to group 3. Okay, so we miss out all those in the middle. They behave a little bit differently to all the rest of the elements. So we skip them out. They don't have a group number. Okay, so it goes 1, 2, it skips out all those middle ones, which we call our transition metals, and this is group 3, starting with boron. Okay, and then the rest just go up. So that's our group 4, 5, 6, 7, and then group 8. You might also hear group 8 referred to as group 0. That is just because of how those elements in group 8 or group 0 behave. Okay, so if I say, oh, it's a group 5 element, you know it's one of kind of group 5, so that's our group 5 elements. It's going to be one of those. Okay, so that's what our groups are. They go down the periodic table. And then the next thing to have a look at are the periods. So the periods go across the periodic table. So for example, that is group 1. Okay, so these two elements are, sorry, that is period 1, not group 1. So these two elements are in period 1. So hydrogen and helium are the only two elements in period 1. Okay, and then they go down the periodic table. So that's period 2. Those elements are period 3, period 4, period 5, etc. And they go all the way down to the bottom. Okay, so I could say, oh, I'm looking at an element, it's in group 4, it's in period 2. Okay, so group 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, period 2, that's actually carbon. Don't forget that period 1 are hydrogen and helium, so carbon must be period 2, number 6. Okay, so I can say, oh, they're in period, all those elements in period 3, and I could be talking about all the elements in period 3, or in group 1, and talk about all the elements in group 1. Okay, the most important thing really are the groups, because all the elements in the same group, so going down, they all have the same properties. So for example, you watched in the last lesson a video about group 1 elements and how they react with water, and they were all quite explosive with water. But that is a property for only the elements in that group 1, so hydrogen, lithium, sodium, etc. Other elements in different groups, they don't behave like that. Okay, so in the groups, they all kind of have similar behaviours, similar properties, and then the periods, they're just about, well, helping us find them, and there's something different as well, which you learn about when you get a bit older. Last thing to have a look at is metals and non-metals. So if you watch, there's actually a place in the periodic table where I can split the periodic table up and all the ones to one side are metals, all the ones on the other side are non-metals. So watch where I put this first line. Okay, underneath boron, number 5. And then I step down, okay, literally like a set of stairs from boron all the way down to the bottom of the periodic table. So as long as you remember the first line goes underneath boron, then you can add in the steps, like a set of stairs from there. All the elements on the right hand side of that set of stairs, they are all non-metals, okay, and they're what you'd expect. Things like oxygen, carbon, hydrogen, helium, neon, they're all non-metals. All the ones to the left of that step, they're all metals, okay, apart from hydrogen. So you've got to kind of forget about hydrogen. That's a little bit different, which is why in some periodic tables you don't actually see it in group 1. You see it kind of hovering above everything in the middle. All the elements to the left of that line apart from hydrogen, they are all metals, okay, so things that you would expect like cobalt, nickel, gold, etc. There's one on here which is a bit weird. People always get a bit confused about that. Number 20, which is calcium. A lot of people think that that's a bit strange, to think that calcium that we drink in milk or we have in dairy products, that is a metal, but it actually is, and we do consume metals and they are quite good for us. We've got to have iron to help with our body as well. So all the ones to the left there, they are all metals, even if some of them don't quite seem it. Okay, you might want to take a screenshot of that or kind of copy it down, take some notes. You've got to know where that step is, so that when I'm going to ask you some questions, which of these are metals, which are non-metals, and you need to be able to tell me the answer. Okay, so make sure you know that. Okay, so go and try some of the questions based on this video and see how you get on.